When you think about the fact that we're probably going to top just evictions alone 25,000 this year. Last year it was around 24,000, 23,000. And while that many set outs are not occurring, it is still a problem that many of our residents in our community are facing.
Evictions on the rise. This week, Columbus announces 3 new housing initiatives. So how will this step help tackle Central Ohio's housing crisis? Plus,
the biggest factor of why it is difficult to find teachers is the wages that we can offer them.
the cost of childcare through the roof, and wait lists are long. We look into solutions for families and if they can afford them. Plus, more people, bigger stadiums. Just ahead, the Columbus Crew's new plan to expand Lower.com Field only 3 years after it opened. And Amazon's brand new $10 billion investment into the Buckeye State. What this means for the new home for big tech. It has been a busy week for Boomtown this week. I'm Angela Ann. We're also seeing how schools are dealing with all this growth. One district refusing to give up when it comes to asking voters for money. And another district is doubling down on school resource officers. We have a lot to get to, so here's what we uncovered this week in Boomtown. Hi there, and thanks so much for joining us for This Week in Boomtown. I'm Angela Ann. So this week, Columbus City Council ended its final meeting of the year, but not before passing 3 housing initiatives. One creates a residential wholesaler registry. Now, this would make it easier for renters to contact property owners. Landlords must also provide advance notice of rent increases. And the third piece of legislation creates access to legal services for anyone facing eviction. 10 TV went to Council's final meeting of the year and spoke with outgoing Councilwoman Shayla Favor.
How soon might we actually start seeing the impacts of this legislation tonight?
We're seeing it already.
Councilmember Favor points to other pieces of housing legislation now in the works, and even though they all take effect in 30 days, landlords failing to comply with the rental increase notices have until July to make those adjustments. Well, with the population growing rapidly and more families moving in, that means more kids need to be cared for. And that's creating a child care crisis for many people. But right now, parents say child care centers are full and those wait lists are long. This week, 10 TV's Kevin Landers took a closer look at the industry in crisis and a possible solution.
It has been a struggle for many years.
A majority of child care centers across Central Ohio are facing a critical shortage of teachers.
Here in Licking County, it's definitely an issue.
Sean Litton
So this side of the building, we've got infant through toddler.
runs My Place Child Care Center in Newark. He says he could use 11 more teachers to handle the demand.
If you have an infant, we've had children on our waiting list for close to a year.
A staffing shortage means some rooms sit empty.
I think the biggest factor of why it is difficult to find teachers is the wages that we can offer them.
The average entry-level wage for a child care teacher in Ohio is $15 per hour, according to state figures. While child care operators are raising tuition to pay staff, Litton says that's not an option for him. His clients already pay $15,000 a year for one child.
We need about a 20% increase to tuition to get to entry-level 15.
As Central Ohio's population grows, families are learning that finding a seat in a classroom is not only getting more expensive, it's becoming scarce.
I'm calling from Action for Children. How are you?
Action for Children works to find parents a spot for their kids, but it's not easy.
We have parents that work for this organization that can't afford childcare because it's more than their mortgage.
Now, Action for Children is getting creative.
We cannot only rely on parents paying out of their pocket to make this work.
It's piloting a program supported with state funding to incentivize more businesses to either set up their own child care center or sponsor a classroom nearby. Under Governor Mike DeWine, the state created the Department of Children and Youth to address child care needs. The state set aside tens of millions of dollars to incentivize child care centers to expand and help financially strapped families who qualify to pay for higher tuition.
Do businesses need to play a bigger role in creating their own daycares where they live?
Look, I think business can make a bigger contribution. And if you want to look at the 3 or 4 most important things about our future in the state of Ohio, good daycare is certainly one of those 3 or 4 or 5.
Awesome, buddy.
While child care operators say they're encouraged the state is stepping in to reduce child care costs for eligible families, finding more people to become early learning teachers remains a major obstacle.
We need more money to invest into these professionals.
Kevin Landers, 10 TV News.
This week, the Marysville Exempted Village School District once again placed a new levy on the ballot. The Board of Education passed a resolution approving an emergency 10-year levy, and if passed, this levy would cost you around $192 a year per $100,000 of a home value. If it fails, Marysville schools could be facing a negative cash balance by 2028. But this decision comes just weeks after the Marysville School District removed school resource officers when its proposed levy back in November failed. Voters will now see this new levy on their ballot May 6th next year. And this is Marysville's third attempt to pass a tax levy in 2 years. Well, over in Licking County now, the school district there is adding student resource officers as that area grows with more families moving in. 10 TV's Lacey Crisp explains what's being done to keep your children safe.
Because Licking County is growing so fast, Licking Heights just finished this new elementary school. District leaders say they knew with the new space, they wanted more school resource officers.
For these Lima Ridge Elementary students in Licking Heights School District, they're worried about finding their way around the new building, learning from friends, and holiday break. Safety and security is not their concern. But it is top of mind for Superintendent Dr. Kevin Miller.
The Board of Education gives me 2 directives. Number 1, improve student achievement, and number 2, ensure the safety of our students, and not even necessarily in those orders.
When Dr. Miller started in the district 3 years ago, there were 4,800 students. Now, there are 5,400.
If we don't have safe environments, then the learning can't take place.
That's why this year the district started working with the Pataskala Police Department and the Licking County Sheriff's Office to make sure there are 4 school resource officers in the schools.
It creates a positive relationship between our students and law enforcement. I think too often we look at law enforcement as a negative because when do you call law enforcement? Because there's a problem, right, that has to be addressed. This gives them an opportunity to see that our law enforcement personnel are real people and they care very, very much about their community.
The Licking County Sheriff's Office had 5 school resource officers last year. This year, because of growth in the county, they have 10 throughout multiple districts.
So we're booming with the likes of Microsoft, Facebook, the Intel, the Amazon. The county is just exploding, and we're just trying to keep up with that growth.
In addition to Licking Heights, the Licking County Sheriff's Office has SROs in Lakewood, Southwest Licking, Northridge, SeaTech, Huber Heights, and Liberty Christian.
What is the benefit of having a school resource officer in the building?
So many people think school resource officer, they immediately think response time, security, but so much more than that. Our officers are building relationships, they're mentors, they're here for deterrence.
And the superintendent tells me as the district continues to grow, they will continue adding school resource officers as needed. In Licking County, Lacey Crisp, 10 TV News.
Well, some big changes on the horizon for public transportation here in Central Ohio. This week we learned how COTA plans to use money from the sales tax increase that voters approved in November. So in 2025, more than $148 million will go towards the planning of 3 bus rapid transit lines. COTA will also use the new revenue to expand service hours and add more buses. And this week, we want to show you how these bus rapid transit lines will look once complete. The first one you can see planned for West Broad Street. COTA is hoping to break ground next year and have that line in service by 2027. A COTA spokesperson tells 10 TV as the region grows, it is critical to make sure vehicles are not our only option to get around.
We cannot solve this population boom by just creating more roads. We have to be able to use the infrastructure that we have now to move people en masse rapidly.
Now, Coda is also setting aside $56 million for sidewalks, bike paths, and trails. You'll start to see construction on some of those projects next year. Some big news for fans of the black and gold today. The Columbus Crew is looking to expand Lower.com Field just 3 years after it opened. Now, this week we obtained documents submitted to the city, and they show what the team wants to build and how. The first would create new club space on the east side of the stadium, and that would require a 2-story addition. The second expansion, it involves the terraces on the north side of the stadium. Well, this week, a Crew spokesperson says the team is committed to providing an exceptional supporter experience for all matches and events. You can expect completion dates sometime by the 2026 season. Looks pretty good. Well, finally, some huge news for big tech. This week, Ohio Governor Mike DeWine announced Amazon Web Services plans to invest $10 billion in additional funding. Now, this will help expand Amazon's data center infrastructure all across the Buckeye State. We're talking hundreds of new jobs by the end of the decade. The governor's office says this is the second largest investment by a private sector company in Ohio's history. And 10 TV is working to find out where those additional data centers will go. We'll, of course, keep you posted right here on Boomtown. And don't forget, we also have our 10 TV Plus original, Welcome to Boomtown. It is streaming anytime. I'm Angela Ann, and thank you for watching This Week in Boomtown.